Okay, this is the first time I'm ever doing this, and in terms of the game I'm reviewing, it's gonna have been a while since the game came out, about a week, so, I'm very punctual with this. I'm definitely gonna do well with this career in the future, if you can even call it a career. But yes, I am going to be reviewing a game, and this will be the first game I ever review. It is Resident Evil Village. Now, to get to the long and short of it, did I like this game? Oh, hell yeah. As always, Resident Evil is incredible as a first-person game. Everyone knew that with the 7th one, which, by the way, I will be comparing this to the 7th one a lot, considering that they are both the only first-person shooters of the Resident Evil franchise, so I think it's pretty fair to do so. It's just a great game. Village lives up to the expectations, in my opinion, except on some accounts, and we'll get into that right now. Gameplay-wise, the gunplay is great. It's very satisfying to pop a cap in some of these bitch-ass little monsters, these little werewolf-looking motherfuckers, these lichens they're called. Enemy design is great, very fun enemies. A lot of variety, by the way, much more than the 7th game, so Resident Evil 7 is weaker in that regard compared to Village, so definitely an improvement in the amount of enemies that you'll fight and face, as well as boss battles. There are a lot of boss battles, and I think all of them are pretty good, although I feel like some of the bosses in question should have stayed around for a lot longer than they did, and I think some of the bosses should have not even been in the game. To be honest, I think it would have been better. And I am just gonna say which ones I'm talking about. So if you don't want to get spoiled, skip to this part of the video. I'm gonna put a timestamp. So yes, the big titty vampire lady is not in the game for very long. Her section was pretty good. I liked it the most. And I felt really cheated when she died so quickly. I mean, don't get me wrong. Her castle section took up a good portion of the game, but it was only the beginning. And then for the rest of it, it was just some fucking doll bitch, some fish motherfucker, which, by the way, it's the fish that I don't think should be in the game. Moru, his name was. He should not exist. He does not fit in with the theme at all. They basically just copied him from Resident Evil 4. He's the giant fish from that game, but just, he's stupid and he sounds funny. I will admit, Moru does say a funny line. He says, "I'm the best!" And that's pretty much the only good thing he ever does. He's just an idiot, and he's kind of nice to laugh at. But other than that, I don't think he belongs in the game. I think Lady Booby should have existed for a lot longer, and she shouldn't have died so early on. Especially because her boss fight was so good. I mean, she was marketed so much in the trailers that I thought that when she died initially, she was going to come back later. But no, you just kill her from the beginning. And then the bosses after that are so weak. Like I said, the doll person, not very good. I mean, I will say, the PT horror section of it was kind of alright. I mean, not too great in my opinion, because honestly, if I play through this game again, that's going to be so boring. It's not that scary. It definitely will wear off if I play it again. And again, the fish, it was alright, but I could live without him. Heisenberg was okay. I actually liked him, because his factory was cool, except for the layout of the map. That was actual living, breathing tumor. I mean, seriously, I got lost more than the people in, well, Lost, the TV show. I mean, that shit was an actual labyrinth. I half expected to see the fucking Minotaur greet me in that maze. His boss fight was pretty trash, though. It was literally just like an arcade battle. I mean, it was fun, but, like, come on, it's not really using your guns. You barely use them in that battle. It's more of a cinematic experience than an actual boss battle with Heisenberg. And with all that said, if it isn't already obvious, this game isn't really scary. Like, at all. The only scary part, like I mentioned, is the dollhouse, I guess it would be called. House Beneventio, if I'm saying it right. Again, I didn't think it was that scary. I think it spooked me a little bit. I'd have to check the VOD of my stream. Which, by the way, if you don't already, go to my Twitch, twitch.tv/LordJRass. It'll make you happier and cure all your depression, I guarantee you. Doctors agree. But other than the initial shock of seeing that aborted fetus monster in the hallway, it didn't exactly make me fill my pants with yellow piss, you know? And in that regard, I wouldn't call this a survival horror game. I'd call it more of a survival thriller. It's more of a thrill ride with cool guns, cool boss fights, cool enemies, with, some horror elements to it that aren't exactly scary in the context of this game. Now, with all that said, let's get on to the story. I like this story. It was good. If you like Resident Evil, you're gonna get a Resident Evil story. There are characters from previous games. You've got Chris Redfield. You've got Ethan Winters from 7. That empty shell of a character who has no emotion. But he does express some emotion in this game, although some of the voice acting is pretty, goofy. There's a lot of goofiness in this game with the voices. But yeah, I think the story is a strong point. It's a very cool story. I was surprised by some points. I mean, there are some good twists, especially near the end, which I'm not going to tell nor spoil, even though I did spoil some of the things about the boss battles prior to this section of the video. I think you need to play the game to hear those plot twists. If you know, you know. But a lot is explained. especially about Ethan Winters, and I like how they explained it. I think it ties things together pretty well and weaves an interesting narrative that kept me into it for the entirety of the game. And speaking of the entirety of the game is relatively short for a AAA title. It's at most gonna take you 10, maybe 11 hours. Some people complete it even shorter than that. I've seen people do like 8, even 7 hours on their first playthrough. Depends on how much you backtrack and look for secret items, or just how much you appreciate the graphics, which graphics are pretty impeccable, pretty great. Fucking immaculate to look at. Very impressive technology used for the graphics. I mean, the ray tracing just makes it look like real life sometimes. There are some really nice graphics in this game, just putting that out there. But yeah, the game is not that long. However, I've always been a firm believer that the quality of the game matters more than the quantity, or rather the amount of time that it takes. For example, Assassin's Creed is a long game, but it's fucking terrible. Every single Assassin's Creed is dog shit, except for maybe Odyssey. There were some good points in Odyssey, but other than that game, every Assassin's Creed is pretty fucking dog shit. If they would strip all the other parts of that game and made it shorter, it'd be pretty good. So I'm sure Resident Evil fans already know this, but Resident Evil games have to be short. If they're longer than 20 hours, they will be bad. Because, I mean, the gameplay will just get stale, you know? It has to be a nice, tight experience that lasts for as long as it needs to. And that's exactly what the developers do in every single game. And that's why they are still popular to this day, because they are expertly crafted. Aside from all those flattering words, let's get to the verdict. Out of 10, I give this game 8 out of 10. I really wanted to give this a 9 out of 10, but after thinking about it more, I definitely think that it could be better. There were some things that they could change, like I said. I think they could have at least changed Moru to a different boss that fit the theme well. I think they could have made Lady Booby last a little longer, or at least when she died in the beginning, come back later. I just think the castle part should have had a bigger part in the story, and I think a lot of people agree with me on that notion. But by no means does that mean this is a bad game. It is a great game. I highly recommend that if you have $60 to spare and are a big Resident Evil fan, hell, even if you're not a fan, this is a good place to start and get yourself immersed in the franchise, because Resident Evil is great and Village is an amazing addition to the series. Thank you all for watching. I wish every single one of you well, and this has been your boy JRass, having reviewed Resident Evil Village and thinking about the big titty vampire lady. Signing off. Peace!